Can a sinusoidal function inspire an outfit? Let's find out. So before we get into the design, we need to understand what is a sinusoidal function or a sinusoidal wave. And the best way to do that is to go back to our basic trigonometry. So trigonometry is the study in math of angles, triangles, and sides of the triangle and the relationships between them. So we're going to start off with a right triangle, and this is called a right triangle because it has a right angle or an angle that is 90 degrees. And if we take this triangle and we look at another angle within it, so we're going to pick this one and we call that theta. Now we can start to name the sides of our triangle. So we have the adjacent side, the opposite side, and then this long edge is your hypotenuse. And basically a sine function or cosine are relationships between these sides that will give you that angle. So if you take the sine of that angle, that equals the opposite side of the hypotenuse, as well if you take the cosine of that angle, that will be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. There is a third relationship, tangent, but we are not going to focus on that today. And basically when we start to get more into more advanced math, we can start to see that these ratios oscillate back and forth between 1 and -1 and give us this nice wave pattern. And we're going to use this wave pattern to design our look today. For this outfit, I decided to use fabrics that all either came from a scrap box or from the sales section. So I have a blue that I'm going to cut out for the skirt, and I'm going to do kind of a tiered skirt, and then I'm also going to add a white strip to it to really try to highlight the sinusoidal function piece. So I have these all cut out. I did multiple different measurements so that the skirt would be ruffled and flowy, so as you went down it would kind of flow out more. So I'm going to basically attach each of these together. So once I had the pieces attached, what I had to do was gather them so that I would get that tiered and ruffled effect. And I did this for each of those layers of my skirt. So when I was cutting this out, I had to make sure that there would be that gathering effect, so each layer is larger than the next. The measurements I used were 30 inches for that first layer, then 45, 60, and then 75. Then once I gathered it, I sewed those up. This did take a lot of thread and it took a lot of time, but at the end it was definitely worth it, and you could see that I had this really beautiful gathering effect for my skirt. So now, since I really wanted to highlight the wave pattern of these sinusoidal waves, what I did was I actually took gathers vertically as well. So very similar to how I did the horizontal gathers, I did a straight stitch down and then took another stitch over top of it and then started to gather that thread up. At first what you'll see is I did this in 4 different places, but as a spoiler alert, I'm going to take 2 of those out. So as you can see though, it had that really nice wave effect that I was looking for, and it really kind of made it look like that sinusoidal function. So now that I have the initial gathering done, what I need to go back through is take a stitch along each of those gathers so that they would stay in place. So here's what the skirt looks like. As you can tell, it really has that nice effect that gives you that wave looking pattern. What I started to look at though, the more that I was looking at it and how it was laying, was that I was getting more of a country western showgirl vibe from it, which was not what I wanted. So I did go ahead and take out 2 of these gathers so that I wouldn't have that look. With the skirt complete, I could now switch to focusing on the top. So I wanted the top to be something that was really simple and really easy. So I went with a crop top. I took my 2 pieces of fabric and just sewed along the shoulder seams as well as the sides, and then I did add some decorative green stitching just as a nice touch, and this is what it ended up looking like. So now it was time to focus on adding that wave at the bottom, as well as adding bias tape around the collar and the armholes so that it would finish off the top. And to do this, I did make my own bias tape using that same blue fabric that I had for the skirt. I will include a link at the top corner so that you can see how to make your own bias tape, as well as I have a couple videos on that, and it's really simple and a great way to add a personal touch. Once I had all the bias tape done, I went around the top of my shirt as well as the armholes and started to pin it on. The best part about bias tape is that it allows you to cover up that seam, so when you are pinning this on, you just want to be sure that it's fully covering both the front and back of your fabric, and that you want to make sure that it's equal on both sides, so that when you're taking that straight seam across, you're able to catch both the front and the back of your bias tape. So the final step for this outfit was to add that wave pattern at the bottom of the crop top. So what I did for this was I traced originally out the look that I wanted, and then I went through and cut with my scissors that shape out of the bottom of the fabric. This did take some time, as then after I did that, I went through and tried to fold the edge up. I think in the future, if I did this, I wouldn't go about it that way. To get the hem, I probably would have used some sort of bias tape as well. As for this, I did that basting hand stitch, and then I took a machine through it, and it worked, but I think bias tape would have been easier. And here is my completed look. So you can see our skirt has those nice little ruffles, or the waves, and then as well as the bottom of the crop top, it also has those waves. Then the blue from the crop top matches the blue from the skirt, and it's also along the sides. I have some of this nice green color that matches the green gathering that I'd use on the skirt. So lots of the little details tying it all together. It also has this really fun high-low effect to kind of play with the idea of the sinusoidal wave. So the back is longer than the front, which is why I took those gathering seams out. I also think this skirt could be a really fun pirate costume if you were looking to make a skirt yourself. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks!